So Real Engineering just put out this video about how we could reach Proxima Centauri b in 20 years. And the idea here is this disk-looking thing. Like they say in the video, this is a really good video, by the way. Love the video. It's a very good video. I'm just trying to discuss how the idea in it, which is Breakthrough Starshot, is not very viable, very feasible. Like it is so bogged down by technical and then other challenges, even non-technical challenges that I'll get into. But more than that, there's such a better alternative solution that doesn't seem to get as much publicity or discussion. And so basically, just to overview what this is, I recommend watching the Real Engineering video, but essentially the idea is that you make a bunch of ultra lightweight probes, little spacecraft that are like these disc-shaped things, and you have thousands of those, and you hit them with a giant laser, giant ground-based laser, accelerate them to like 20% the speed of light, and they shoot off to Proxima Centauri b, and it takes them like 20 years to get there, even though it's 4 point something light years away, 4.34 light years away. And it takes them 20 years to travel that because they're only going 20% the speed of light. And then they all work together somehow to take a picture, even though these little things are just grams of weight, like the video says less than a credit card in weight. And so somehow these ultra tiny spacecraft or ultra lightweight spacecraft have to work together, take a picture using some kind of sensor, and then relay it back across interstellar distances so that we get one single picture of one single exoplanet that is nearby. And if that sounds crazy, I mean, yeah. And it's the idea of, so I'll go over to this tab, Breakthrough Starshot. Like that's the idea of these breakthrough initiatives. They're ambitious, but this one is like kind of the analogy I think about is in like Project Hail Mary. Like that project is like the level of crazy that this project is. And I just, oh my gosh, so I'm just going to ramble through technical challenges here, is you have to make it have, and all this is talked about in this video. It's a really good video, but it talks about you need to have the battery that's going to last 20 years and fit within your mass budget of a couple of grams. You need to somehow have a sensor or sensors collectively across all the spacecraft that can take a picture of the planet, even though it is, each one is just like a couple of grams or whatever. You need to have computer, navigation, communication, especially that, oh my gosh, the communication back to Earth across 4 light years is entirely unprecedented. Everything is unprecedented. The communication especially would be difficult. This design of a spacecraft, the design of the camera that's proposed in this video, like so much of this is so far out. And it's just, the thing is that Breakthrough Starshot, there's this here. Okay, so it says project was put on hold indefinitely. But, I mean, obviously, so this video just came out a day ago. And 2 months ago, even though that's after this thing, there was discussion on, like, here's just a Reddit example post, has 17,000 upvotes, and this guy at the top says, definitely worth doing. So that was like the most upvoted comment for 5,000 comments. And there's this knee-jerk reaction that people have of like, oh my gosh, yes, this is such a cool project and it needs to be funded and we need to do this before I die, like in my lifetime and all of that. And I agree if this made sense as the direction to go, but it so does not. I mean, like I said, all of the extremely difficult challenges that I just said. Another one, a big one, is this laser that needs to power the spacecraft. So it would be ground-based and it would be like, I don't know, ridiculously powerful. Basically a super weapon giant laser, like Bond villain level laser. And of all people, you're going to give that laser to Mark Zuckerberg, who founded this concept. And if there is ever a red flag that you needed, that a project is never going to go anywhere and is, a misguided effort, it is the fact that Mark Zuckerberg is attached to it. I mean, do you guys remember when they renamed the entire company to Meta because they were doing Metaverse? And then he was like, AI actually, and now like, oh my gosh, like Zuckerberg has done one good thing in his life, and that's Facebook. And that's not even a good thing, but it was like a successful thing. And everything else is just like vaporware or a, like a bad move or just a mistake, essentially. Do you guys remember? Here's another one that I always think about. Facebook, Aquila? I don't know. But like this was their idea to have solar powered drones that provided internet in remote areas. Like, Jesus, I don't know. What were they thinking? Of course, Facebook acquires companies that are successful, but that's not the same as taking ideas and building them into successful things. Zuck's track record is atrocious. So anyway, that's my red flag, and of course it has been canceled now, but we're still talking about it on Reddit, and we're still making videos about it, and this is a really good video, but I just wanted to like kind of recap how hugely infeasible this was. So I've rambled on about Breakthrough Starshot and how I think it doesn't make, I mean, it's cool, and I think that eventually you would do something like this when you actually need to send something to another solar system in order, like something that you can't do by observing remotely, which I'm going to get to the alternative to this in just a second. That's like a much better idea. And so like to send something using lasers and light sails, like that is obviously the way to go because it avoids the rocket equation. And it's like so definitely the correct method if you need to go to the target destination. However, you don't need to go to the target destination for what they're trying to do. Because again, this is like always pitched as like, oh, within my lifetime, we're going to get a picture of an exoplanet. And to reiterate, that is like one, like this whole program, the whole thing would take one picture of one nearby exoplanet and just has like this tremendous risk of not working and not being able to communicate the picture back to Earth. And you'd send them off and you wait 20 years and pray to God. And so yeah, it's like the Project Hail Mary, but in real life of like attempting something. And it's fine. I'm all like, again, I'm all for these ambitious projects. But now I'm going to start talking about the way better idea here. And that is solar gravitational lensing. Lenses. In fact, let me just search that because I messed with this video and it plays an ad if I scrub it. So you'll get the picture here. Yeah. And just to recap, okay, so this is the new real engineering video posted a day ago. This is a Launchpad astronomy video posted 6 years ago discussing solar gravitational lensing. And then this is a video by The Overview Effect. Awesome, amazing channel. Love this guy. And he discusses a bunch of stuff, but one of the big things is he also has a discussion about sending ultra lightweight probes using lasers and like a solar sail concept to nearby star systems. And so this video is really worth watching as well as the real engineering one. And yeah, all three really. The Launchpad astronomy one then talks about solar gravitational lensing, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, just to get into it, the idea of solar gravitational lensing missions is quite similar. And so let's do this picture. Now, it actually works out weirdly similar, but like better than Breakthrough Starshot in every conceivable way. So for this project, you would do a bunch of small sat clusters, which I don't know if I mentioned, but I think I said something. But the idea, if you watch the real engineering video, these would also be like thousands of these little discs that are like just a few grams each, and probably in clusters. And then this one also sends things in clusters. But the difference is, here's a picture, like a concept render thing. These ones are more substantial and more conventional, where everything about this is just a completely unattempted interstellar communication, disk-based computing. Like it's not disk-based, but it's like a new way to do computers to keep them under the mass budget and exotic power technologies that aren't really fully flushed out for this sort of like mission. Or like this is crazy stuff compared to like this thing is pretty conventional. And it has some solar sails, and it's like we haven't done this before, but it's, oh my gosh, that would be so much more viable. But so yeah, this is this idea of a probe, and you would send those out. Let me find this other picture again, as clusters. And the idea is that you send them from Earth You do not need a giant laser to power them. You just send them on a normal orbit that goes near the sun, and the sun powers them. Sends them out to, like, this says 550 AU, but if you look at the Launchpad astronomy video, he discusses how it would need to be more like 650 AU in order to kind of avoid like the glare from the sun or whatever, the corona. But either way, whatever, like 600-ish AU away from the sun, which is like way past Pluto and starting to leave our solar system, and that's like very far, and like that is still quite the engineering challenge, but it's within our solar system. This whole part of this mission, if you watch the Launchpad astronomy video, is supposed to only be like a 20-year process. So they go out to the sun, and then they go out to this, what's called, so the focal line, focal column, really. They get there in 20 years. And so the broad idea here, sorry, I buried the lead a little bit, but the sun and all objects have mass, and they bend light a little bit like black holes, like in Interstellar. And so the light comes around the sun and it gets bent, and it ends up creating kind of a natural telescope. And if you get far enough away from the sun, which happens to be that 600-ish astronomical units, which 1 AU is sun to Earth distance, if you get far enough away into this like little Goldilocks area where there's a focal line or focal column, you can focus on the light, or the light comes to a focus or comes together in a way that you could observe it if you had a spacecraft there, or a spacecraft there to receive the light. And so that's the concept here, is just send something to that point where we can then observe the target. And cool things about this project, as I mentioned, more conventional spacecraft, still pretty exotic, but definitely a lot more conventional than what would be needed for Breakthrough Starshot. It is faster. It is only 20 years as opposed to the 20 years that Breakthrough Starshot takes to get there, plus the 4 years that you would need for the data to be transmitted back. It is lower technological readiness because you don't need these crazy exotic things. It would probably be cheaper. You're operating within the solar system. It's just, the list goes on and on and on. But there are two big things that I want to talk about that are like a little less intuitive. And that is, with solar gravitational lensing missions, you can target anything. And so that means that this whole cluster, they call it string of pearls in the Launchpad astronomy video. So it's like a cluster and then another cluster and another cluster. That's like one mission. But once you have that architecture down and developed, you can send as many of those as you want in any direction. And so you can target an exoplanet, and then you can send more in a different direction and target a different exoplanet. You can use it for stars. You can use it for black holes, whatever. This really just acts like a telescope. And so you can get anything with this, and it just magnifies things. Like, I forget in this video, he says it's either 100 billion, it's some ridiculous number of magnification or multiplier of magnification. 10 billion or 100 billion times or something ridiculous. And so by using this concept similar to what would be expected of Breakthrough Starshot, you can get what would be like, here's like a concept image or whatever of like on the right here is like conceivably what you could get, possibly also in color, of this exoplanet, which this is Earth, but like you could make out continent details and everything. And so like you, with this concept, get the ability to see everything as if the sun is one enormous telescope. And you got to keep sending out probes and clusters and everything. It's a whole, definitely like an engineering challenge, but you can use this for everything and observe anything, and it doesn't matter. Like the distance is the same. The focal distance here, focal line, is the same distance whether you're trying to look at, something a couple light years away, like Breakthrough Starshot is trying to capture, or 100 light years away. And so I think in this video, it is talked about that this is like a concept, like the idea of what 100 light years away would look like. So Breakthrough Starshot is trying to get a single picture of something 4 light years away for the whole mission. And this one would be like, 20 times that. But you could look 500 light years away or whatever. I mean, you will get less detail the further away you try to look, but you can use this for anything, whereas Breakthrough Starshot has to physically traverse that distance at some fraction of the speed of light, and it will take longer and longer and exceed human lifetimes very quickly. Whereas just using the sun like a telescope, you just point it at stuff, basically. You know, you send the spacecraft in the direction that you want to point your telescope, and then you get, these awesome images of anything. And so that's one of the big ones, is it is way more flexible, and you can target anything with this solar gravitational lens mission architecture. The second thing that is a major differentiator, so in addition, even if that wasn't the case, and even if this next thing wasn't the case, Breakthrough Starshot would still be inferior, because solar gravitational lens, like I said, is cheaper, faster, easier, communications, less risk. Like, everything is better about it, but also you can target anything, and it's just this gigantic telescope that you can point anywhere in the universe. But in addition to that, the other thing that is substantial and much of an improvement over Breakthrough Starshot is that Breakthrough Starshot gives you one single picture of one exoplanet, and you pray to God that it actually works and you get your one single picture back. Whereas solar gravitational lensing, this focal line, I think from this video, it sounds like the way that it works out is your spacecraft, or at least the clusters of spacecraft, end up, like, this focal line is actually quite long, and you have, so as long as it's on the focal line, which is quite a lot, you can observe the target that you're trying to observe. And so you have the entire time, because the spacecraft would go out there and then it's not going to have the fuel to brake, but you don't need the fuel to brake, because you have a giant window where you can still make observations with your spacecraft. And even if you didn't have that window, you could do the cluster thing and still make continuous observations, but you do have a window. And so the way this works out is that this mission architecture allows continuous observation of the target. And so I believe it's years that you remain on the focal line. And so you can observe this planet nearly as if you had a satellite in orbit around it. You could get the night side, you get the day side, you can get the seasons, you can get enough pictures that you have pictures of everywhere, and then, digitally remove the clouds, take all the clouds out, and only use pictures where there weren't clouds, or stitch them together, so there's no clouds in your picture. And compare that and contrast that with Breakthrough Starshot, where you get one picture of whatever it happened to be at the time. Or maybe if you send enough probes, you can take a couple of pictures of one single moment or whatever. And so it's just like, oh my gosh, this is such a superior concept in every conceivable way. And I really wish it would get a little more attention, because Breakthrough Starshot, it's this flashy thing. It's sponsored by a literal, real-life supervillain. And it has nothing on solar gravitational lensing missions. And the one other thing that I will say, I think just to close here, is if you build Breakthrough Starshot and you make the gigantic, here it is, involves a multi-kilometer phased array of beam steerable lasers with a combined coherent power output of up to 100 gigawatts. Gigawatts? Yeah. Even if you somehow get over the political hurdles and manage to build that somehow, because it is literally like a laser superweapon supervillain, straight out of a comic book or a Marvel movie or a Bond movie or something. Say you somehow manage to build that and you overcome all the technical and political hurdles. If you were building it for Breakthrough Starshot, at the point that it's built, you would just say, well, wait a minute. Why don't we just use it for solar gravitational lens mission architecture? Because you can take these same satellite with the sails and everything. I mean, you would modify them to optimize it or whatever, but these same things, they have sails, the concept uses sails and everything. You would hit them with your super laser, your Earth-based or ground-based Earth laser to accelerate them. And I don't know, I haven't done the math or anything, but you would accelerate them either directly from Earth to where you're trying to get them, or you would accelerate them so they get to the sun faster or something. I don't exactly know, and maybe it wouldn't be crazy effective, but this is the laser thing. It is cool. I hope it does get built one day, because it is a general purpose, great, it is hugely beneficial for space travel throughout the solar system and interstellar as well. if you have this mega laser that can hit things and accelerate them very quickly, because yeah, getting rid of the rocket equation by using light is enormous. And so surely the Solar Gravitational Lens mission would be able to benefit in some way from such a system, whether it cut time off or they were able to have more payload or whatever. If you build the laser that Breakthrough Starshot needs, it makes solar gravitational lensing even more feasible, even though solar gravitational lensing does not need the laser to begin with. Whew. Okay, so just to recap, solar gravitational lens is just like superior in every way. I cannot think of a way that it is inferior. The only thing is that it's kind of cool to send something physically to another star system, and then not for first image of an exoplanet, but like at some point, especially with like a manned mission or a crewed mission, you would maybe prefer to physically send something to that other, I mean, this is interstellar travel. Obviously you need this concept of using light to propel a solar sail is like the way to go to get somewhere. And in fact, in the overview effect video, there's a concept discussed that is a manned crewed ship that would be able, I forget the details, but it could get to one of the nearby star systems in like a human lifetime or whatever. And it's like this enormous, like gigantic engineering project that puts even Breakthrough Starshot, like makes it look like nothing. So this would be like incredibly difficult, but I'm just saying at some point it does make sense. Obviously, if you want to do interstellar travel and you want to do anything that's not like remote sensing with a telescope, this makes sense, the concept that underlies Breakthrough Starshot. But that's it. That's the only thing. Anything that has anything to do with, see a picture of an exoplanet in my lifetime and, advancement of general capabilities of like astronomy, science, that kind of thing, solar gravitational lens is absolutely the way to go, and just better in every way. Better in every way. And it doesn't have Mark Zuckerberg bagging it. So, all right, that's all I got.